Hello, you are listening to Dr. Sushma Singh. Today in this lecture we are going to start block 3, Critics of Development, and unit 9, Dependency Theory of Underdevelopment. Let us introduce the lesson. Block 2 familiarized us with different perspectives on development, such as modernization theory, liberal theories, and Marxian and Gandhian perspective on development. Now let us turn to theories that were generated in the response to growth model of development. The present unit deals with the dependency theory, which was developed as a critique to Western-oriented development model. Dependency theory, which is a body of thinking developed by many intellectuals from third world as well as first world, held that wealthy nations depended on peripheral poorer nations for maintaining their status as rich nation. Dependency theory was a critique of the richer nations from a third world perspective. There are minor variations between the theories that make up this critique. We will present three main strands on the dependency theory: the core and periphery proposition by Rolf Prebisch, the thinking of Adre, Gunder, Frank, and finally the world system theory of Emil Warstein. We will outline some of the essential features of dependency theory. We will also examine dependency theories for the implication they have on economy of third world countries and whether they have any relevance to present economic disparities between the rich nations of north and the poorer nation of the south. Now let us start the topic, the beginnings of dependency theory, center and periphery. Dependency theory grew essentially as a reaction to neoliberal perspective of development, which equated development with growth. The nations which followed the growth model of development were rich, and all the poorer nations that wanted to catch up emulated these nations. The growth model did not yield the desired result for the poorer nations. If anything, the disparities between the rich and poor nations grew wider. According to the research of Rolf Prebisch, the wealth of the poor nations decreased when the wealth of rich nations increased. Dependency theory was popular in 60s and 70s. It was developed by the Rolf Prebisch, the director of United Nations Economic Commissions for Latin Americans in the 50s. The theory has developed into different strands, with Andre Gunder Frank and Emil Watson redefining it and called it the world system. The dependency theorists, as we mentioned earlier, asserted that economic growth in the advanced industrialized countries did not necessarily lead to growth in the poorer countries. Previous observations of what was happening with Argentinian economy yielded a thesis which essentially divided the world into center and periphery. Though his observations were based on his experience with Latin America, it was extended to all those countries which could be classified as centers and peripheries. The centers are those countries whose economy is dominated by the manufacturing, while the peripheral countries are those which primarily exported agricultural goods and raw material known as primary goods. The centers earn more out of the goods they export than the cost of importing the primary material. The center is able to retain the saving made, since it can retain higher wages and profit through developed unions and commercial institutions. At the periphery, companies and workers are weak and have to pass on technical saving to their customers in the form of lower prices. Pavich pointed to the decline in the term of trade between industrialized and non-industrialized countries, which meant peripheral nations had to export more to get the same value of industrial exports. Through this system, all the benefits of technology and international trade would accrue to the center. Pavich's solution to this situation was that poorer peripheral economies need to stop importing manufactured goods from rich nations and come up with import substitution and thereby save their valuable foreign exchange. Pavich's solution was straightforward. Poorer countries should embark on programs of import substitution so that they need not purchase the manufactured products from the richer countries. The poorer countries would still sell their primary products on the world market, but their foreign exchange reserves would not be used to purchase their manufacturers from abroad. This meant that domestic market has to be developed to meet the demands for manufactured goods. This also meant that governments need to curtail imports. This proposition made many doubt whether such a thing was feasible, for it not only needed a strong state but also economy of scale for manufacturing, which kept the prices low, which were not existent in the poorer nations. Pavich's thesis and findings became popular with the other, and variety of strands were woven into the original thesis of center and periphery and import substitution. By 1960s and 70s, Andre Gunder, Frank and Emil Watson further expanded it to the account for the political economy of trade. In the following section, we will try and understand the central idea of Gunther, Frank and Wallstein. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.